Before I commence my talk today, I've been advised by the TED organisers to let you know about my undiagnosed medical condition. This condition makes me believe in things that don't yet exist, outcomes that seem impossible, and gives me an irrational belief in the good of others. This condition is commonly known as crazy. And it is my intention that not a single one of you here today will leave without being infected. In the interests of public health and safety, the transmission of my crazy from me to you will not require the exchange of bodily fluids. I promise I will not eat your brains or eat your flesh. But if by chance you do find that you haven't been infected, I do have my toothbrush here just in case. Before I share my crazy with you, I'd like to introduce you to some fellow infected souls, the ones who have the courage to believe that they can change the world, the ones who see things differently. This is Blake Mycoskie. He's the founder of Tom's Shoes. Tom's gives away a single pair of shoes to a child in need for every pair of shoes they sell. Now you may be thinking, what difference could a pair of shoes make? Well, it turns out quite a lot. You see, when disadvantaged children have to travel great distances by foot to attend school, having a pair of shoes could mean the difference between attending school or not. And not having an education can have dramatic consequences in the life of that child and their family. To date, Tom's has given away a staggering amount of shoes. Currently, that figure sits at 10 million pairs, which is just incredible. But if you're like me and have done the math, that's 20 million shoes. But you see, Blake Mycoskie didn't start out trying to give away 20 million shoes. He saw the difference that one pair of shoes can make if given to the right person. He believed that in order to change the world, you first had to believe in the power of one. One crazy idea, one pair of shoes sold, one pair of shoes given. Clearly, crazy. What you may not know is that crazy has in fact infected the entire earth, and that it has even infected some of the world's most important institutions. My next crazy brother-in-arms is completely nuts. You may even recognise him. His name is Kofi Annan, and he's a past Secretary General of the United Nations. Back in 2000, you would have thought that Kofi and his UN pals would have been content with merely surviving the apocalyptic chaos and destruction caused by the Y2K bug. But no, instead they decided to come up with these, the Millennium Development Goals, 8 international goals agreed by the world's global leaders to halve poverty by 2015. With less than 2 years to go, some regions are close to their targets, others not so. But the crazy idea to halve global poverty is a marathon, not a sprint. And if you ask any seasoned marathon runner how they think they're going mid-marathon, they'll tell you to ask them at the end. And until we're at the end of obliterating poverty and suffering from the world, we need to be steadfast and run the course. For many of us, poverty, hunger and suffering is something that just happens elsewhere. And it's very, very easy to take that point of view. It's easy to forget that somehow we arrived here, winners of probably the most important lottery the world has to offer, the great lottery of life. What other lottery could offer you and your family a longer lifespan, good health, access to sanitation, education, and a life of plenty? It's easy to get distracted by life, to forget that not everyone was given a winning ticket like us. Recently, I was trying to explain this good fortune to my 4-year-old son. I wanted to explain it to him in terms that he could understand. I knelt down and I looked him in the eye, as all good fathers do when they're trying to deliver a significant message to their child. And I said, do you know there are people in the world, boys and girls, who don't have an iPad? He looked at me in horror and quickly fired back, "Do they have an iPod Touch?" And even though he is only 4 years old, I believe that my son's outlook on life and the riches that we take for granted isn't too dissimilar from how many of us see the world, where product consumption is king and our lives are inwardly focused. I didn't have the heart to tell him there are some children who are born into poverty and even slavery, such as this child worker in Pakistan who works 12 hours a day in the brick kilns just to pay off his family debt that's ever increasing. But for many of us, our reality in the developed world is in actual fact the apps that we find on our phone. It's far more of reality than the preventable pain, suffering and starvation that is a reality to millions of people. People with hopes and dreams just like you and I, except they weren't given life's winning ticket. Now, I don't seek to exclude myself from this group. I enjoy flinging birds at green pigs as much as the next person. But if I were to die tomorrow, I really don't want my headstone to read, "Here lies Richard Tubb. His life achievement was obtaining a 3-star rating on every level of Angry Birds." You see, I think we're all capable of doing amazingly great things in our lives. But I don't think that achievements in Angry Birds is necessarily one of them. Perhaps if charitable giving was as fun as gaming, then maybe more people might enjoy doing it. What if we took the aspects of gaming that make it enjoyable and developed a way to make charitable giving and positive real outcomes attractive to the masses? Gaming gives us goals, levels, and achievements, and it challenges us. Gaming is great solo, but even better with friends. What would happen instead of throwing virtual birds at virtual pigs if by chance we sent real birds in the form of chickens and real pigs to communities in need throughout the world, which would go a long way to help them become self-sufficient? But as we all know, pigs can't fly, and there is a real-world financial cost to funding outcomes, no matter how socially great or charitable they are. As selfless as the Millennium Development Goals are, they all require the flow of real dollars to fund their objectives. And I believe that this is the Achilles heel of giving and charitable organisations everywhere. They all need money. The problem with money is you can use it to buy just about anything. Money doesn't mind if you use it to buy things that you don't really need. Money doesn't mind if you buy stuff that you don't really afford. And money isn't critical of you being self-centred. And of course, money loves to be spent. In fact, I think it makes it feel useful. So if cash and its counterparts are so versatile, why would we ever need an alternative? The answer is simple. Money has no conscience. Imagine a currency where every dollar you earned couldn't be spent on yourself. Now, I can see the parents out here, because they're the ones nodding their heads thinking that's exactly what happens to my income today. But what would happen if there was a currency that could only be spent on charitable projects and altruistic objectives, empowering others and affecting global change? A currency that can be spent by you, but never on you. A currency where local, regional and global outcomes are controlled by the people. A borderless platform for giving. A global currency for change. I've even given this radical currency a name. I've called it halos. It too is crazy. So what is this crazy idea of halos? And how does it work? Well, halos is a purely digital currency, which means there are no physical notes, coins, or cards. Halos can only be used to purchase charitable and altruistic outcomes that benefit individuals, families, and communities in need throughout the world. At no time can you ever transfer your halos balance into cash for yourself. It can only ever be transformed into real-world positive outcomes. These outcomes could be restoring a person's sight, saving a child's life through vaccinations or anti-malaria mosquito nets, or giving a goat, chicken or cow to a family in a remote community. Tom's has shown us that, proven in fact, that giving an important gift to the right person can make a world of difference, that paying it forward matters. As Halos commoditises socially good and charitable outcomes, it is not tied to one single charity to deliver the result. This means that smaller charities that produce amazing results don't get overlooked due to their size. Halos will record and track every positive outcome that you support over the course of a month, a year, or even your lifetime. You'll be able to share these achievements with your family and friends and challenge them to improve on your accomplishments. You could even join forces and merge your halos together to form a more powerful force for good, enabling you to embark on larger projects like clean water projects in Africa, or housing projects like this one in Pakistan that gives shelter, running water and electricity for 8 people, all for the cost of less than a washing machine. You could even challenge and rally your town, community or workplace together and challenge your clients behind projects that you're particularly passionate about. Potentially you could even cure your Farmville obsession by creating real agricultural infrastructure for real families. So now you've heard what Halos can do. You're probably wondering, how do you get Halos? Well, firstly, you can convert your pesky, old-fashioned currency to Halos, the same way as you can put credit on your PayPal account. And you can give and receive Halos from other people. In fact, I think Halos would be terrific as a form of allowance or pocket money for children. As from an early age, the children can see that they can make a positive difference in the world and that their life is not just about them. A concept that many adults could learn too. And as Halos is a purely digital currency, it has the opportunity to be earned through the purchase of apps and virtual goods, as well as the purchase of physical goods. You see, behind every product, app or corporation, there generally isn't an evil genius stroking a cat, but a person without a cat. And these catless people have a desire to see their product, app or corporation succeed. Some of them don't even seek world domination and are even willing to forego some of their profit and support social causes, especially if it makes good commercial sense. There is a problem in that though. It can be difficult, sometimes downright impossible, to strike a commercial partnership with a well-known charity or not-for-profit organisation, even if they were to receive a substantial contribution. The reason? Branding and trust. For charities, their brand means everything to them. No trust equals no support. Charities don't want to risk diminishing this trust through product partnerships. This is where Halos can help. You see, Visa and MasterCard don't mind if you're a small 7-Eleven store or a department store. They'll happily allow you to take their payment method for a small merchant fee. If Halos became the Visa or MasterCard of giving, it could create an open platform for business to give their products a competitive advantage in the marketplace, while giving consumers free Halos to spend on outcomes and causes they're particularly passionate about. An example could be an app that offers free Halos in conjunction with an in-app purchase, such as extra levels in the game, or a company selling breakfast cereal could give you free Halos in every specially marked box. Commercial partnerships such as these would ultimately pay for the inevitable overheads that Halos as a not-for-profit organisation would face. So now you know about Halos and how it can positively affect the world. Now you might be thinking, well, Halos sounds good in theory, and I might buy some Halos and make a difference once I earn a bit more, or after I buy that next big thing I'm saving up for, as I couldn't possibly afford it now. Well, I have a little secret for all of you here. We're all a lot wealthier than we let on. I personally came to this conclusion while investigating the Millennium Development Goal number 4, which is to reduce child mortality. Since 2000, this goal, through measles vaccines alone, have averted some 10 million child deaths. And currently, over 84% of the world's children receive a dose of measles vaccine before their first birthday. When I saw this incredible figure, I thought, I bet delivering that was very expensive. And even though it's horrible to think of a cost on a child's life, I figured that the vaccines were expensive and probably around about $25 to $30 to administer. When I found out I wasn't close, I was shocked. In fact, it costs less than $1. Now, that is less than the cost of the cheapest paid app on your phone. I looked at my iPhone with the dozens and dozens of apps on there, and I thought that every one of those could have been a child that I could have saved. For me, it was a Schindler's List moment on a small scale. This year, the global app market value is estimated to reach some $27 billion. Now, what that really is saying, that we have at least $27 billion in freely disposable income. And if we could just compelled, in fact, to divert some of the wealth from the trivial things that we buy, then we could save not just one child's life, but empower whole communities and future generations, restoring the balance of humanity globally. So you can make a difference, a massive difference in the lives of others, just by making a tiny difference in yours. So now you've heard how one very ordinary guy who spent most of his life on the island of Tasmania, close to the end of the earth, is crazy enough to challenge the world in creating an international platform for giving, to create a global currency for change. In reality, I need your cooperation and the cooperation of visionaries across the world to join with me on this journey to push the human race forward. You see, I believe that Steve Jobs was right. The ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. By now, I hope you all have caught my crazy, and that you, along with me, will have a lasting legacy and will be remembered not for your virtual achievements, but for the lives you have changed and the positive outcomes you have created here in the real world. Thank you.